Hello and welcome to another episode of Ross on Cars. I'm Ross Furlong and this is an Aston Martin DBX. So, the Aston Martin DBX. It's a 4x4 but it's not anything like my Volvo. I've been loaned this as a courtesy car actually. My Vanquish is getting its annual service, so thanks to Aston Martin in Sevenoaks for lending me this. This is a £200,000 car. It's the first thing that's quite striking about it. It's also in a very lovely magnetic silver colour. And I guess, you could say this was the most important car in Aston Martin's recent history, in the sense that, all these super SUVs, the Lamborghini Urus, the Rolls-Royce Cullinan, is that how it's pronounced? And the Bentley Bentayga. These have been very successful cars and help these kind of exclusive sports car manufacturers in financially support, the development of their more usual kind of sports models, I guess. A bit like Porsche did way back when they launched the Cayenne. So already the DBX is making up the lion's share of Aston Martin sales at the moment. It's been a very successful introduction, and I'm very intrigued to sort of find out what it's all about. I think it looks the part, The looks are kind of unusual. When I first saw it as a 4x4, I'm kind of, I can see it's an Aston. It looks like an Aston, but, it's sort of, obviously, sort of pumped up, I suppose, in a way. But they have done a very good job, I think, design-wise, in sort of turning it into a kind of a sporty, upmarket and very Aston sort of car. So let's just go around the car and have a look at the features in a bit more depth. So when you look at the styling of this car, everything is very recognisably Aston, just a lot bigger. Look at this front grille here, and it's the biggest grille they've ever put on an Aston. This one's in black gloss. It's an option on this car. The badge is massive. Again, it's been optioned with a sort of smoked look, as have the lights at the back. The wheels are 23 inches, so that's another inch on the launch edition. But the important thing to note about the wheels really is that they're very wide apart, so they're right in the corners of the car, and that means that the interior space is really quite enormous, quite sort of class leading, if you like. In fact, they had to build a new factory in Wales to build this car. Everything on it is new, although recognisably Aston. I particularly like these vents here. When you look down the bonnet, that kind of is reminiscent of their GT cars. Where it's all looking very Aston Martin around the back here. I think this Vantage-esque style spoiler here, with lovely sweeping lights underneath it, to really say Aston Martin when you're following it. Controversially, there's no rear windscreen wiper, but not needed, say Aston, as the aerodynamics just push the rain off the windscreen. Lots of packs you can buy for this car, so I think my dog might like the doggy pack. It's a full leather doggy pack, looks very comfortable. There's also a charging point here, which you don't have to open the boot to get to, which is quite important for all those Aston owners who've had to sort of trap the leads for their trickle chargers into the boot for the last however many years. You can also get a tow bar for this. Tow about 2,400 kgs. What you might want to tow with this, I don't know. Leave it up to you. A boat, I suppose. Horse box? Would you do a horse box with this? Not really sure. Answers in comments, please. Alright, so the reason for the action shot of me getting in the car is just to show you this sill, which is unbelievably low. I've never seen a sill this low on any sort of car before, so it makes it really, really easy to get in and out. The interior of this car is kind of really Gucci. I'm surrounded by Alcantara. I've got this lovely central column in carbon fibre, with lots of space underneath it, oddly. I haven't seen that before, but it feels very modern. And there's a pad under there. You can just put your phone on, it will charge. It's got a Mercedes entertainment system, which isn't touchscreen, but you can use these wheels and pads here, which is the sort of standard Mercedes stuff. It's got a massive panoramic roof that goes all the way back from here to the rear seats. And one thing I wanted to show you about the rear seats here is just how much room there is in them for somebody my height. So let's just do that now. So here I am, sat behind myself, if that was possible. And bear in mind I'm 6'5", I'd never be able to do this in any other car, I can't imagine. It would be almost impossible. But I do have enough room here. I could quite happily sit here and not feel too squashed. And I've got enough headroom as well in the back. And I put the panoramic roof back as well, so you can see that. I mean, it's just a very nice place to be. So I think it's time we took this baby out for a bit of a drive and figure out whether it really is an Aston Martin or not. Certainly got the right buttons up here. It's got the engine start and the gearbox at the top, like we see in many of the other models. So let's start it up and see how we go. Right, so I've just pulled over here because I've got a really nasty stretch of road coming up, and I've been reading a lot about the sort of Matt Becker design suspension on this car. 3-chambered air suspension, Bilstein dampers, really does absorb the potholes. So I'm just going to put it in GT mode here, not in Sport or Sport Plus or Terrain Plus, which are the other modes, and just see how it copes with this particularly nasty bit of road. It's definitely got an Aston feel to it, this car. There's something about the engine note and the way it progresses. Right, here we go. Nasty bit of road. Do you know, that feels not too dissimilar to my old Discovery. That was perfect suspension for this type of very messed up country road with lots of potholes in it. When you have to jump into the hedge to get out of the way of stuff coming towards you. Amazing. That is really nice. Really nice. And of course this has got a 48 volt anti-roll bar system, which means when you go into a corner and you want to, you know, get a wiggle on a bit, everything tightens up. So let me just get past this little stretch here, and we'll see what we can do in terms of cornering. I should add, this very quiet in here, very quiet. It feels very refined. The air's sort of whispering along behind me. Oh, hold on. Well, hold your horses. Wow, that was some kick down there. Okay, right, so there you go. That's just in GT mode. When you put your foot down, then once you've got 542 brake horsepower, it's 0 to 60 in 4.3. So it's not, you know, an absolute rocket ship like the Urus, I suppose, is class leading in terms of acceleration and stuff. But where this car scores is on its kind of classy adaptation to different road surfaces. And of course, we've got the 707 DBX coming out soon, which will address all those power issues as well. 60 in 3 seconds, that's right. Okay, here we go again. Right, so that was GT mode over some very bumpy roads. But there are some other modes on this car. There's Sport Plus, Sport, Terrain and Terrain Plus. And the ride height alters depending on which ones of those you're in. Also goes lower for sports and higher for terrain. But let's just try out what it's like in sport mode to start with. You just press a little button here on your, and it shows sport here. You can also do individual settings if you want. Let's see what sport has to offer. Oh, I can immediately get a real throaty rasp from the exhaust. And now it's starting to feel quite recognisably Aston Martin, this. Just something about the way it goes, the engine note. It's reminiscent of the Vanquish, this, just the way that it and you really can get a bit of a wiggle on. The suspension, as I mentioned earlier, kind of adjusts massively. The sort of clever Matt Becker suspension, ex-Lotus, so that when you go into sports mode, you really are getting a lot of, you really can get a wiggle on here. Now, I'm just going to pop it into Sports Plus mode, which is a little concerning because when you do that, the traction control light comes on to tell you that it's off. So, well, it's a nice dry day. What could go wrong? So, I'm getting a bit more burble here. I can feel the power going to the rear wheels a bit more. Whoa. And I'm getting places rather quickly, I have to say. Beautiful soundtrack from the engine note, lovely. Oh wow, how does it go? Now, that went round that corner like nothing, like it was on rails. So, yeah, I mean, I've got sports seats in this car as well, which are really keeping me in the seat. I need them, as it really is. Set up to throw you around the corners. If you want to go around the corners fast, you can. To be fair, you know, the suspension, even in Sport Plus mode, doesn't feel hard. It feels supple, kind of compliant. Wow. I think that's what they're saying about this DBX, is that because the suspension is so well sorted in all these different modes, you know, it's a kind of a work of art, really, in terms of how it handles and rides. And you really can have a lot of fun in this thing, and you're not going to be jolted all over the place. So, yeah, I think you have to say this is a proper Aston. It's certainly not lacking any of the Aston kind of qualities. Yeah, it feels proper. It really does. I think, as it's such a lovely day, I'm just going to go and drive this a bit. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Ross on Cars. If you did, press like down below and please subscribe, because I've got some great cars coming up. I've been Ross on Cars. See you next time.